For this problem, we are going to prove that the tangent x equals the quantity 1 minus cosine of 2x divided by sine of 2x. The right hand side is more complicated. We're going to start with that one. 1 minus cosine of 2x divided by sine of 2x. This expression involving the double angle of the cosine and the sine function. Let's put on the side notes here for the formula of the cosine of 2x. There are three different forms. The first one is cosine square x minus sine square x. Second one is twice of cosine square x minus 1. And the last is 1 minus 2 times sine square x. And the double angle of the sine function is 2 times sine x times cosine x. We're going to choose, or actually we can choose either one of them for the numerator. So I'm going to use the first one. If it doesn't work, we can always select another option. So let's go with the first one, or the cosine square x minus sine square x to replace the cosine double angle of the x. And all divided by the sine of 2x can be replaced with the 2 times sine x times cosine x. And after that, we're going to simplify the numerator by distributing negative sign into the parentheses. So 1 minus cosine square x plus sine square x, all divided by 2 times sine x cosine x. One of the guidelines to prove the trigonometry, we're going to keep an eye on the right hand side and work toward to that term. So your goal is to prove and to show that it is equivalent to it is the same as the tangent x. The tangent x in the form of sine over cosine. That means somehow we're going to have to save the cosine x on the denominator. That tells us we're going to rewrite the numerator as some form of the sine in order to get rid of the sine x term here. From the numerator that we have, think about the trig identity that we use the most, or the Pythagorean identity, which is sine square x plus cosine square x equals 1. That tells us sine square x is the same as 1 minus cosine square x. So we're going to work on replacing 1 minus cosine square x with the sine square x. All divided by 2 times sine x times cosine x. The numerator tells us we have twice of the same quantity, or they are like terms. So we can rewrite it as 2 times sine square x divided by 2 times sine x times cosine x. And then we know that the sine square x is sine x multiplied by another sine x, then divided by 2 times sine x times cosine x for the denominator. 2 and 2 reduce, sine and sine reduce. Therefore, we have sine x over cosine x, which is the same as the tangent x, or the term on the left hand side. Now we are done proving.